You've been lied to about fasting. Right now, thousands of people are starving themselves for hours, watching the clock obsessively, thinking they're doing everything right, but their bodies aren't burning any fat. They're not losing belly fat. Their metabolism isn't improving. Why? Because there's one critical mistake that nobody talks about, and it's completely destroying your results. In the next few minutes, I'm going to expose the hidden saboteur that's keeping you from real weight loss, show you exactly why your current approach is backfiring, and reveal the simple metabolic shift that actually triggers fat burning. If you've been frustrated with fasting, exhausted by diets, or confused about why you're not seeing results despite your effort, this video will change everything you thought you knew about losing weight. The fitness industry has created a massive misunderstanding about what actually happens inside your body when you stop eating. Everyone talks about hours and eating windows like they're magic numbers that automatically activate weight loss. But that's not how human biology works. Your body doesn't have a timer that switches on fat burning the moment you hit 16 hours without food. The truth is far more complex and far more important if you genuinely want to eliminate abdominal fat and transform your metabolism. What most people do not realize is that the biological environment inside your body matters infinitely more than the numbers on a clock. You could fast for 24 hours straight and still not enter the metabolic state where your body actually starts breaking down stored fat for energy. Meanwhile, someone else might eat their last meal at 6 in the evening, sleep through the night, and wake up in full fat-burning mode by morning. The difference has nothing to do with willpower or dedication. It has everything to do with understanding the hormonal signals that control whether your body burns fat or stores it. When you eat food, especially certain types of food, your pancreas releases a powerful hormone that acts like a lock on your fat cells. This hormone decides whether energy gets stored away or released for use. As long as this hormone remains elevated in your bloodstream, your body physically cannot access stored fat for fuel. It doesn't matter how hungry you feel or how many hours you've gone without eating. The biology is simple and unforgiving. High levels of this storage hormone mean zero fat burning, period. This is where most people who are trying to lose weight make their first devastating mistake. They focus entirely on when they stop eating but pay zero attention to what they ate before the fast began. If your last meal before fasting contains ingredients that spike this storage hormone dramatically, you're essentially programming your body to stay in storage mode for many hours after you finish eating. The clock says you're fasting, but metabolically your body is still processing that meal, still dealing with elevated hormone levels, still locked in fat storage mode instead of fat burning mode. Think about the typical evening meal that many people consume before beginning their overnight fast: pasta with bread, rice with sweet drinks, pizza followed by dessert, sandwiches made with processed bread and sugary condiments. Every single one of these meals sends that storage hormone through the ceiling. Even after you stop eating, even as you sleep, even as the morning arrives and you proudly announce you've been fasting for 14 or 16 hours, your body is still dealing with the metabolic consequences of that high carbohydrate, high sugar final meal. The scientific research on this is absolutely clear. When you consume refined carbohydrates and added sugars, the resulting hormone spike doesn't just last for an hour or two. Depending on the size of the meal and your current metabolic health, elevated levels can persist for 6, 8, even 10 hours or more. For someone who eats dinner at 8 in the evening and doesn't eat again until noon the next day, they might think they've completed a 16-hour fast. But if that dinner was metabolically disruptive, their body might not have entered true fat-burning mode until 11 in the morning. That means they got maybe 1 hour of actual metabolic benefit from what they believed was a 16-hour fasting window. This explains why so many people who are desperate to lose belly fat report that fasting doesn't work for them. They're doing everything the popular advice tells them to do. They're tracking their hours meticulously. They're resisting hunger. They're following all the rules about eating windows and fasting schedules. But they're missing the fundamental principle that makes fasting actually work as a weight loss tool. Without controlling the hormonal response to food, fasting becomes nothing more than scheduled starvation that produces minimal results and maximum frustration. The second layer of this problem involves what happens during the eating window itself. The fitness industry loves to talk about eating windows like they are simple containers where you can put whatever you want as long as it fits within the time frame. This is dangerously misleading advice that sabotages countless people who are genuinely trying to boost their metabolism and achieve sustainable fat burning. The frequency of eating within that window matters just as much as the window itself. Imagine someone who practices an 8-hour eating window from noon until 8 in the evening. Sounds reasonable, right? But then look at what actually happens during those 8 hours. Coffee with cream and sugar at noon, a handful of nuts at 1, a protein bar at 2, lunch at 3, an apple at 4, dinner at 6, a small snack at 7:30. This person technically stayed within their eating window, but they stimulated the storage hormones 7 different times. 7 separate spikes, 7 separate signals telling the body to stay in storage mode and avoid burning fat. Each time you put food in your mouth, regardless of the quantity, your pancreas responds by releasing the storage hormone. The hormone rises, does its job of managing incoming energy, and then gradually falls again. But here is the critical part that determines whether you actually lose weight fast or just spin your wheels. The hormone needs time to fall completely before your body can switch over to burning stored fat. If you eat again before it falls, you get another spike, and another, and another. You end up spending the entire day with elevated levels, which means spending the entire day locked out of your own fat stores. This is why some people can eat 1 or 2 substantial meals during their eating window and experience dramatic improvements in body composition, energy levels, and metabolic health, while others eat small amounts constantly throughout their window and see virtually no progress despite technically following the same fasting protocol. The difference isn't calories. The difference isn't even total food volume. The difference is hormonal rhythm. One approach allows the storage hormone to rise and fall in distinct waves, creating windows of opportunity for fat burning. The other approach keeps it perpetually elevated, creating a metabolic environment where fat loss becomes nearly impossible, regardless of how little total food is consumed. So, how do we fix this? How do we make fasting actually work? It comes down to 2 simple but powerful principles. First, bookend your fast. This means the last meal you eat before you start fasting and the first meal you eat when you break your fast should be built around protein, healthy fats, and fiber. These foods cause a very low and slow hormonal response. Think grilled chicken with broccoli and avocado, or a big salad with salmon and olive oil dressing. By ending your eating window with a meal like this, you allow that storage hormone to drop quickly, maximizing your fat burning time while you sleep. And when you break your fast, a similar meal prevents a huge hormonal spike, keeping you in a fat burning state for longer. The second principle is consolidate your meals. Instead of grazing all day during your eating window, aim for 2 or, at most, 3 distinct meals. No snacking in between. This gives your body the time it needs for that storage hormone to come all the way down between eating events. For example, have a satisfying lunch at noon and then a full dinner at 6 p.m., with nothing in between. This structure creates a clean hormonal rhythm, with clear peaks after meals and deep valleys where your body can freely access and burn its stored fat for energy. It's about eating until you're full and satisfied, and then giving your body a real break. When you combine these 2 strategies, bookending your fast with the right foods and consolidating your meals, everything changes. Suddenly, fasting isn't about willpower and watching the clock anymore. It becomes an effortless, powerful tool for metabolic health. You'll find you're less hungry, your energy levels are more stable, and the fat, especially around your midsection, finally starts to disappear. You're no longer just not eating. You're actively creating the perfect hormonal environment for fat loss. Forget the myths. Stop counting the hours and start paying attention to your hormones. Build your last meal around protein and healthy fats. Stop the constant snacking during your eating window. When you do this, you're not just fasting, you're fasting correctly. You're working with your body's natural biology instead of against it. This is the real secret to unlocking the incredible benefits of fasting and achieving the results you've been working so hard for. Thank you so much for watching. If this video helped clear things up for you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more myth-busting health tips. See you in the next one. The third catastrophic error that prevents people from achieving real weight loss involves substances they consume during the fasting period itself. Things they've been told are perfectly safe and won't interfere with their results. This might be the most insidious problem of all, because it operates completely under the radar. People think they're refasting properly while unknowingly triggering the exact metabolic responses that shut down fat burning and keep them trapped in frustration. Artificial sweeteners represent one of the biggest hidden obstacles to eliminating abdominal fat through fasting protocols. The logic seems sound at first glance. 0 calories means 0 metabolic impact. Right. Drink all the diet soda you want. Use all the sugar-free flavorings you like. Chew sugar-free gum throughout the day, and you'll maintain your fasted state while satisfying cravings. Except human physiology doesn't work that way. Your body doesn't just respond to calories, it responds to taste, to expectations, to learned patterns about what should happen when sweetness hits your tongue. When sweet flavor receptors in your mouth detect sweetness, they send immediate signals to your brain and digestive system. Your brain interprets sweetness as incoming sugar and prepares your body accordingly. The pancreas begins releasing the storage hormone in anticipation of the glucose spike it expects to manage. Your liver adjusts its output. Your muscles prepare to take up sugar from the bloodstream. All of this happens automatically, beneath conscious awareness, triggered purely by the sensation of sweetness even when no actual sugar arrives. For many individuals, this cephalic phase response is powerful enough to significantly elevate the storage hormone and completely interrupt the fat-burning process. Research studies using continuous glucose monitors and insulin measurements have demonstrated this effect repeatedly. Participants who consume artificially sweetened beverages during fasting periods often show measurable increases in both blood sugar and the storage hormone. Despite consuming 0 calories, their bodies respond to the sensory experience of sweetness by shifting out of fat-burning mode and into storage preparation mode. The fast gets broken metabolically even though no actual food was consumed. This is why people report feeling suddenly hungry, jittery, or tired after drinking diet beverages during their fast. Their metabolism just got disrupted. Beyond artificial sweeteners, Excessive caffeine consumption during fasting creates its own set of problems that derail weight loss efforts. Black coffee in moderate amounts generally supports fasting because it can enhance fat burning and mental clarity without significantly impacting the storage hormone. However, when people start consuming multiple cups throughout the morning, drinking strong espresso shots on an empty stomach, or adding caffeine pills to boost energy during extended fasts, they trigger a different hormonal problem that's just as destructive to their goals. High doses of caffeine stimulate your adrenal glands to release cortisol, your primary stress hormone. Cortisol serves many important functions in the body, but one of its key jobs is making sure you have enough blood sugar available for immediate energy needs. When cortisol rises significantly, it signals your liver to break down stored glycogen and release glucose into your bloodstream. Your blood sugar goes up. When blood sugar goes up, the storage hormone must rise to manage it. Once again, you've created a metabolic environment that prevents fat burning, and you did it without eating a single calorie. This cortisol-driven blood sugar increase explains why some people feel shaky, anxious, or unfocused when they combine aggressive fasting with high caffeine intake. They interpret these symptoms as dangerous low blood sugar and think they need to eat immediately to avoid passing out. In reality, their blood sugar is probably fine or even elevated. What they're experiencing is the stress response. Their nervous system is in overdrive. Their body has shifted into emergency mode because they've layered multiple stresses on top of each other. Fasting plus excessive stimulants plus inadequate sleep plus emotional pressure equals a recipe for metabolic disaster, not healthy weight loss. The mental health resources available around fasting rarely address this crucial distinction between physical hunger and stress-induced discomfort. Most people have been eating so frequently for so many years that they've lost the ability to recognize what true hunger actually feels like. They confuse stress signals, habit patterns, boredom, thirst, and emotional needs with genuine physiological hunger. When they feel any discomfort during a fast, they immediately assume their body is in crisis and that eating is the only solution. Understanding this difference becomes absolutely essential for anyone who wants to lose weight fast without damaging their metabolism in the process. Stress feels uncomfortable, hunger feels uncomfortable, but they're not the same thing, and they don't require the same response. Stress needs calming techniques, better sleep, reduced stimulant intake, and nervous system regulation. Hunger is a natural signal that rises and falls in waves, and learning to ride those waves without panicking is how you build true metabolic flexibility. Another commonly overlooked factor that destroys fasting results involves the timing of evening meals and its impact on liver function. Your liver operates as the metabolic command center of your entire body. It regulates blood sugar levels throughout the day and night. It processes toxins and waste products. It manufactures the proteins and cholesterol your body needs. It stores and releases energy as needed. And critically, for anyone trying to eliminate abdominal fat, it determines whether incoming nutrients get burned for immediate energy, stored as glycogen for short-term use, or converted into fat for long-term storage. When you eat late at night, especially meals high in carbohydrates and sugars, you force your liver to work overtime during hours when it should be resting and repairing itself. The storage hormone stays elevated throughout the night. Your liver continues processing incoming nutrients instead of switching over to maintenance and regeneration mode. Your blood sugar remains higher than it should be during sleep, and perhaps most importantly for weight loss, you completely block the release of growth hormone that normally occurs during deep sleep. Growth hormone is one of the most powerful fat-burning and muscle-preserving hormones your body produces. It rises dramatically during quality sleep, especially in the deepest stages of rest. This nighttime growth hormone surge helps repair tissues, maintain muscle mass, and liberate stored fat for energy. But growth hormone and the storage hormone work in opposition to each other. When one is high, the other must be low. If you keep the storage hormone elevated all night by eating late, you suppress growth hormone release. You lose out on hours of potential fat burning and metabolic repair. People often wonder why they can follow the same fasting schedule as someone else but get completely different results. This is frequently the answer. Two people might both do 16-hour fasts, but one person finishes eating by 6 in the evening while the other eats right up until midnight. The person who stops eating earlier gives their liver a full overnight rest, allows the storage hormone to drop completely, and benefits from robust growth hormone release during sleep. The person eating at midnight spends the whole night in metabolic processing mode, misses out on growth hormone, and wakes up still dealing with the effects of that late meal. Same fasting hours on paper, completely different metabolic realities. The relationship between fructose consumption and liver health represents another critical piece of the weight loss puzzle that most fasting advice completely ignores. Fructose is a type of sugar that behaves very differently in your body compared to glucose. When you consume glucose, it can be used immediately by cells throughout your body for energy. Your muscles can burn it during exercise. Your brain uses it constantly for cognitive function, but fructose follows a completely different metabolic pathway that goes straight to your liver for processing. Your liver is the only organ that can metabolize fructose in significant quantities. When fructose arrives at the liver, it gets converted into fat through a process that happens rapidly and efficiently. Unlike glucose metabolism, which is tightly regulated by the storage hormone and other feedback mechanisms, fructose conversion to fat proceeds almost without limitation. The more fructose you consume, the more liver fat you create. This is why fruit juice, smoothies loaded with tropical fruits, agave syrup, marketed as healthy, and even excessive whole fruit consumption can sabotage your attempts to lose belly fat despite seeming like virtuous food choices. The deceptive aspect of fructose is that it does uncause immediate blood sugar spikes the way glucose does. People check their glucose monitors after drinking orange juice or eating a bowl of fruit and see relatively modest increases. They conclude that these foods must be fine for metabolic health and compatible with their fasting lifestyle. What they don't see is what's happening inside their liver, that fructose is being rapidly converted to liver fat, creating the exact type of metabolic dysfunction that makes weight loss progressively harder over time. A fatty liver doesn't just sit there passively. It actively creates insulin resistance, meaning your cells stop responding properly to the storage hormone signals. When cells become resistant, your pancreas must produce even more of the hormone to achieve the same effect. Higher baseline levels of the storage hormone mean less time spent in fat-burning mode and more time locked in storage mode. This creates a vicious cycle where the very act of trying to lose weight healthily becomes increasingly difficult. Because your metabolic machinery has been damaged by poor food choices during your eating windows, understanding electrolyte balance during fasting represents yet another area where lack of knowledge leads to unnecessary suffering and premature abandonment of effective protocols. When the storage hormone drops during fasting, your kidneys respond by excreting more sodium and water. This is a normal, healthy response. Lower hormone levels tell your kidneys they don't need to hold on to as much fluid. You'll urinate more frequently in the first few days of consistent fasting. You'll lose water weight quickly, which can be encouraging, but you'll also lose essential minerals that your body needs to function optimally. Sodium, potassium, and magnesium are the three critical electrolytes that need attention during fasting periods. When these minerals drop too low, you experience a cascade of unpleasant symptoms that have nothing to do with actual starvation or metabolic damage. Headaches, dizziness, fatigue, muscle cramps, brain fog, and weakness all commonly result from electrolyte depletion, not from the fasting itself. People experience these symptoms, panic, assume fasting is harming them, and immediately break their fast with a large meal. They never learned that a simple pinch of high-quality salt and water would have resolved their symptoms within minutes. The fitness industry's obsession with low-sodium diets has created tremendous confusion around this issue. People have been programmed to fear salt and avoid it at all costs. They've been told that sodium causes high blood pressure, heart disease, and bloating. While excessive sodium consumption in the context of a high-carbohydrate, processed food diet can indeed be problematic, the situation completely reverses when you're fasting and following healthy meal plans based on whole foods. In that context, adequate sodium becomes essential for maintaining energy, mental clarity, and physical performance. This brings us to one of the most psychologically damaging mistakes people make with fasting protocols: treating weight loss as the only meaningful measure of success. The scale becomes an obsession. Daily weightings determine mood and self-worth. When the number goes down, everything feels possible. When it stalls or increases slightly, despair sets in. This narrow focus on scale weight completely misses the profound internal transformations happening at the cellular and metabolic level that represent genuine health, improvements, and sustainable fat-burning capacity. Your body weight represents a combination of water, muscle tissue, bone density, organ mass, digestive contents, and yes, body fat. But not all body fat is created equal. The fat directly under your skin, called subcutaneous fat, is relatively metabolically inactive. It serves as insulation and energy storage but doesn't create major health problems. The fat packed around your internal organs, called visceral fat, is metabolically active in the worst possible ways. It releases inflammatory compounds, interferes with organ function, and dramatically increases disease risk. This is the fat you desperately need to eliminate for both appearance and health. Visceral fat responds to hormonal signals, particularly the storage hormone and cortisol. It doesn't primarily respond to calorie restriction or increased exercise. You can lose significant amounts of muscle mass and subcutaneous fat through aggressive dieting while barely touching dangerous visceral fat. The scale shows weight loss. Your clothes might fit a bit differently, but your metabolic health hasn't actually improved. You've become a smaller version of your metabolically unhealthy self, with less muscle to protect you and a slower metabolism to show for your efforts. Proper fasting protocols that keep the storage hormone low, manage cortisol through stress reduction and adequate sleep, and preserve muscle through sufficient protein intake work directly on visceral fat. Internal changes happen first. Your liver begins to heal and release stored fat. Inflammation decreases throughout your body. The dangerous fat around your organs slowly mobilizes and gets burned for energy. These changes might not show up dramatically on the scale immediately because you're simultaneously building or maintaining muscle tissue, which is dense and heavy. But your waist circumference decreases, your energy improves, your blood sugar stabilizes, your mental clarity sharpens. These non-scale victories represent the real markers of metabolic healing and successful fat burning. When someone reports that they feel dramatically better, their clothes fit more loosely around the midsection, their sleep has improved, and their energy remains stable throughout the day, but the scale has only moved a few pounds. That's not failure, that's success. That's visceral fat disappearing, liver function improving, and metabolic flexibility being restored. The scale will eventually catch up, but the internal healing had to come first. The final piece that ties everything together involves consistency and realistic expectations about the timeline for metabolic repair. They accumulated gradually over years or even decades of poor dietary choices, chronic stress, inadequate sleep, and sedentary behavior. The expectation that 2 weeks of fasting should completely reverse this damage is not just unrealistic, but potentially harmful because it leads to discouragement and abandonment of effective strategies before they have time to work. Your body heals in stages. First, blood sugar begins to stabilize as you stop flooding your system with constant carbohydrates. Then the storage hormone starts to decrease as your pancreas gets regular breaks from stimulation. Next, your cells gradually regain sensitivity to hormonal signals. Your liver begins releasing stored fat and healing from years of metabolic stress. Mitochondria, the energy-producing structures inside your cells, increase in number and efficiency. Fat-burning enzymes upregulate your metabolism, shifts from being primarily sugar-dependent to being genuinely flexible, able to smoothly transition between burning carbohydrates when available and burning stored fat when food is scarce. This complete metabolic transformation requires months of consistent practice, not days or weeks. Understanding this timeline is essential for maintaining the patience and commitment necessary to achieve permanent results instead of temporary changes. There's a natural solution to speed up your metabolism, control cravings, and support your weight loss journey naturally and effectively. Click the link in the first pinned comment to start transforming your body. If you want to truly transform your body and learn how to lose belly fat healthily, don't stop here. In the next video, I'll share practical strategies and little-known secrets to boost your metabolism and keep the weight off for good. Click now and discover how to take your weight loss to the next level.